How do I start these videos? Hey, welcome back to the channel. It has been quite a long time since I've made a video. Because life gets in the way and things are busy. And I wanted to come back. I've had a few people ask like if I was going to make more videos, and I definitely want to. So this is my attempt to get back on the horse, off the wagon, whatever it is you say. And I had this idea of like opening this video with some quote from, some photographer, Alex Soth, about narrative, or Winogrand about how life is meant, he wants to see what life looks like photographed, or Meyerowitz with his like, what the photograph is what's in the viewfinder, something inspirational, photographic to get the channel kind of moving again, to think about what I want to talk about when it comes to photography, and maybe less like gear and more about photographic process and philosophy of photographing. But instead, I think I want to open with this quote: "The action is the juice," from Heat. But in thinking about photography and life and the sort of combination of the two, and what I want to talk about with the channel, I feel like that's pretty inspirational and pretty accurate to how I want to funny word, but how I want to integrate photography into my life. The action is the juice. It's, for me, living a photographic life, not in the sense that it's like, photographed nicely, or that the things I'm doing are like particularly photographable. I feel like they are, but not in the sort of traditional sense of, doing aesthetically pleasing things, despite the fact that this channel is called Aesthetic Control. It's a little bit different than that. What I'm thinking about lately is just living life in a way where like photography is one of the central elements of what I do, how I go about my day, how I go about my interactions and travels, and the things that I think about when I'm not out there photographing. So as I hopefully try to kick the channel off again, I want to talk about photography and inspiration, and like how to look at photo books and actually apply what you can take away from them to your own photographic process, how I apply it to my photographic process. And we'll get there, hopefully. But what I wanted to do today is just open things back up with where I'm at, what I've been shooting, and where I've been for the past probably, I think it's almost been a year. Yeah. But like I said, life gets busy, things get in the way. I make videos for my day job, so making even more videos in my downtime isn't necessarily the most inspiring thing. But I feel like using the YouTube platform as an outlet for sharing work is one of the best ways to use it, and one of the best ways to share work. I think short of, handing a print to somebody, this might be a pretty good way to share work. Anyway, we'll go back over the whole list of things that I've been doing at some other point, but just briefly, since the start of the year, I've traveled for work up to Canada, out to California, had several shoots that I've been on for work, traveled to Boston for both music stuff and work. This most recent time, a few weeks ago, my job has a big conference that they do up there, so I went and filmed a bunch of stuff with that, but I always had my M6 over my shoulder. But yeah, so in the meantime, up to Canada, to Montreal, and to Quebec for work and fun, and then Boston again for music stuff. I went up to photograph for the record label Run for Cover. They had a big fest up there over a couple days, so that was a lot of fun. And all film, which is what they wanted, which was great. I threw the M6 and a Hexar AF that I have in my bag and just went around and photographed that. But I want to share some images from the most recent few weeks. We'll start it off with that trip to Boston, a city I lived in for a long time, so it was nice to be back, even though I didn't get to spend a ton of time out in the streets, both because of work and then the few days I had off the rain. So I had one sort of half day to really hit the pavement. I did about 8 miles walking around the city. Most of my time was spent at a conference center. A few of my coworkers just sitting in the morning light. We had a call time at like 6:30 in the morning each day. So that was pretty exhausting. But as I said, I did have one day where I went out and walked around. Unfortunately, my first stop of the day was the Boston Leica store, where I twisted my arm. I picked up an Elmer V4 28mm. I've had my eye on this for a while. I feel like 28mm, you don't super need f2. And while I am still really happy with the Ultron f2 that I have, as much as it pains me to say it, there really is something special to the way that Leica glass renders. But that's another video. So here's a couple of just around on the streets photos. I came across this bridal procession, just a few people walking through along by the pond. One bride flanked by a few people. It's just right place at the right time kind of moment. And then walking through Faneuil Hall, which is not a place I typically would go while I was in Boston, but is a good place for street work. There's tons of people. They're everywhere. Everybody's looking every which way. At this juncture, there was like a high school band playing. So I kind of shot through the crowd in front of this group of people and in front of the band, sort of in the middle, and just hit a snap, kept it moving. So yeah, that was fun. It was good to get out and like do just street photography in a big city, especially one that I knew or know. And yeah, maybe I'll do a video later of just like everything I've shot on the street in Boston. I think that would be a cool way to share a lot of work from over the years. But then to kind of put this lens through its paces, we went out for Mother's Day and visited my parents. This is my dad and his BB gun, and this poor Miller Lite can that has been shot at over the years with this BB gun. And I finally knocked it down, and it was time to replace the can with a new one. He's had a BB gun for as long as I can remember, since I was a kid, and we got him this Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas a few years ago. And then our cat Milo, hanging out in the window. We were out working in the yard, and he just posted up in the window, and I just happened to have my camera with me right when he hit the spooky pose. So I got him. And this lens is great. It's super sharp. It handles really well. It handles a little bit. That's one thing that I do like about it more than the Ultron, like straight out. It handles better. The throw is like nice and loose, but dampened enough so you can like hit focus really quickly. It's a little bit looser than the Ultron, so I feel like I'm able to fly through the focal range pretty quickly. And since it's 28 and I'm shooting at like probably f8 or higher during the day, focusing is pretty easy. But a few more street photos that I wanted to share were from an event. I think I made my last few videos about the Eyes on Main event out in Wilson, North Carolina. A very big crowd for a town sort of in the middle of nowhere. I'll start off with these dogs that we found. We were starting the photo walk, or not photo walk, the walk to see all the photographs that are up around the town, like this one from last year that I got a picture of people standing in front of. This was a William Klein photo that I love, and it's still in the city, sort of in the building where this foundation is located. But we found these pups. They came up barking and yelling at the fence, and everybody was pretty goo-goo gaga over them. They were a good way to like sort of kickstart the day. But as you can see, there was a ton of people, probably like a group of at least 75 moving through the city. And the day started off nice, beautiful weather. So yeah, some people, another group of people, just people like, looking out along the road, looking at photos, talking to each other. And I just posted up and let people sort of file past me. This guy is in charge. He like runs the whole thing. He has all the photos printed. He has help putting them up around the town. Pretty wild Belgian guy. It's kind of crazy that he lives sort of in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. But we ended up towards the latter, probably quarter of the walk. The rain started to roll in. Started off as a light drizzle, and then within the course of about 10 minutes, just the sky opened up. The few that stayed on the walk pushed into this little alcove that you see that we're standing in. And I got this series of 3 images of this lady. She was a French photographer who was there. Just the light in this little nook was incredible. The sun was still behind clouds, but the rain was like not too bad at this point. So a lot of nice diffuse light being funneled down into this little hole that we were standing in. And one thing about street photography that I always try to do is, you try to get close, which at an event full of photographers is a little bit easy. But even still, when I'm, this close to the camera or to the person, like, it's hard not to engage with the camera and look at it. But, I'd been shooting all day. Everybody had been taking pictures of the photos, the other people. And eventually, you blend into the background and nobody really notices when you, do a quick camera up to the eye and take a picture. And this was the event that really made me start thinking about, like, living life in a way where you're just like, where photography is an integral part of it. And creating work just around travels, around friends, around music that I am involved in, around the house, around family. And letting the images reveal themselves over time, rather than going out with a specific project in mind. Like, this is X I'm going to go photograph. Of course, that makes sense when you have a specific thing in mind that you want to photograph, or if there's a specific need in a project where you need image X, Y, or Z. And I know a lot of photographers, when they're working on a body of work and have it down into an edit and think about what it's missing, that's a good time to go out with a specific eye for what you want. But the way that I've been shooting lately has been just like very reactive. Like, traveling with my wife, traveling for work, going to shows, traveling for music stuff. Just always having a camera with me and being open to making a photograph when it presents itself, even if it's, nothing super special or nothing particularly great. The light's whatever, or inside it's dark. Just having photographs as a record to refer to go back to pull from, I think is a really great way to reframe photography. And especially lately within the photography world, a lot of it is focused on, projects. There's always got to be something you're shooting toward or working on. But I really enjoy using photography as just an element of my daily life. Having a camera with me all the time, whether it's at work in the studio where I'm focused on filming stuff for work. And if, we have lots of lights and gear set up, so sometimes the light looks great, and having your camera on you all the time really acclimates the people around you to the fact that you might take a picture. So yeah, that's it. Just kicking things back off with the idea of like making photos as a daily practice is like a kind of a type of exercise. You build up a muscle, you build up an archive, you build up reference photos, you build up ideas for projects if they do occur, or at the end of the day, at the end of the line, you have a photo project that is the sort of accumulation of your life and what you've experienced and who you've shared it with, what you've seen. And I think that is a cool angle to take and a cool way to focus this channel on just like what's it like to just live a photographic life, to accumulate photographs and to print them, to share them, and just to imbue the daily practice of photography with everyday life. So yeah, Welcome back, question mark. Hopefully I'll make some more of these videos. As you can see, other than these things that I've shared, I've been working on this other portrait project. I'll make hopefully a video about that once I get some more time in front of the camera and some more time to write these up and plan these videos. Thanks for joining me. This is Aesthetic Control. Welcome back.